Good evening, everybody. Hello, welcome. My name is Apostate Alex, for those of you new to my channel. Those of you coming back who are regular viewers, welcome back. Hi, thank you for joining. Hello, Karen in the chat. Hi, Alex. Hi, Karen. Cherokee Joy is here saying, morning, Alex. Love your spirit from Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. Thank you. Welcome. Talking of Australia, tomorrow, I believe at 11 a.m. UK time, although that's to be confirmed, I will be going live with Perth Scientology Audit to review some footage that she got when she was here in the UK of London Org. So stay tuned for that. But today, we are going to be talking about how Scientology are offering free therapy sessions at the Church of Scientology in London and why I have a problem with that. So a viewer very kindly sent me this picture, screenshot of an email. This person is on the mailing list for Scientology London, and it's from the Life Improvement Centre, the Test Centre on Tottenham Court Road, and it's sent from my good old friend Charlie Wackley, and it says, "Hello, it's Charlie from the Life Improvement Centre. Not sure if you got my last email, but I wanted to offer you a free one-to-one therapy session. We only have a few slots left, so book now," with a link to Eventbrite Best Charlie Wackley Consultant. Now, Charlie Wackley is not a therapy consultant. Charlie Wackley is the Deputy Executive Director of the Church of Scientology in London, and nothing that Scientology offers is anything like therapy. Yes, there's auditing, there's Dianetics auditing, and that could be likened to therapy. However, there's no science, there's no medical, there's no training, there's no professional regulator behind it. It is something I believe is harmful. And we're going to have a little look at the regulation of therapy and counseling and psychology here in the UK and how Scientology can get away with actually calling it therapy. Now, in the UK, the Health and Care Professions Council are the ones that regulate professional people who give health or medical care in the UK. So under their regulation is therapy, psychology, psychologists, all that sort of stuff. And they are the government regulators. Now, it's very careful. They're very careful with their wording here. This is their website, the HCPC, Understanding the Regulation of Psychologists. And it very clearly sets out who they do and who they do not regulate. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. But there are things in the UK called protected titles. Now, under UK law, these are the job titles that are protected. You cannot call yourself a practitioner psychologist, a clinical psychologist, anything on this list without being regulated by the HCPC. So you can't call yourself a clinical psychologist, counseling psychologist, educational psychologist, sport and exercise psychologist, registered psychologist, forensic psychologist, health psychologist, or occupational psychologist, unless you are regulated and you've done an approved course and you're trained professionally in that field. However, there are some terms that are not regulated. So it says here, those 9 titles are protected by law, which means that anyone who uses one of these protected titles must be on our register. We can take action if concerns are raised about anyone on our register. Some professionals use the term psychologist or other titles such as counselor, psychotherapist, or therapist. These are not protected titles, so professionals using them do not need to be registered on the HCPC. They do not need to be on the HCPC's register. Those who are not on our register are not regulated by us. Now, with the case of regulation in the UK, this is something that's really, really important. Regulators who are, they're independent from the government, but they are accountable to government. They have very specific and very narrow groups of people that they regulate, or causes, or whatever it is that they work in, fields that they regulate. Now, they only regulate those specific things that are governed by law. So the HCPC regulates psychologists, medical practitioners, healthcare professionals, and calling yourself a therapist or a counselor is not something that is regulated under UK law. Anybody can call themselves a counselor or a therapist, and there's no one overseeing the regulation of that. However, there is the BACP, which is the British Association of Counsellors and Psychologists, I think. Let me just double check that because I don't want to get it wrong. The British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. Now, this is another regulator, which is, again, independent from government. However, they oversee their own register that's separate from the HCPC. This is what their website has to say. The BACP Register of Counsellors and Psychotherapists is a public record of therapists who meet our standards for registration. The BACP Register sets and enforces high standards for proficiency, professionalism, and good practice for BACP members. Now, if you call yourself a psychotherapist or a counsellor, you may not fall under the regulation by law of the HCPC. However, you may fall under the regulation of the BACP. The difference here is the BACP only regulates its members, and you don't have to, by law, sign up to be a member of the BACP. It is, of course, advised. It is responsible for the therapy, counseling, psychotherapy sector. However, it is not mandated by law that if you're calling yourself a counselor or a therapist, that you register with BACP. You can only register with the BACP if you have an accredited degree and you've gone through a training course and you've gone through a stringent series of checks that allow you to therefore become a member of the BACP. You don't have to do that in order to call yourself a counsellor in the UK. And this presents a little bit of a problem, a little loophole in the UK law, which is what Scientology are exploiting. This is an article on the BACP website that was published 4 years ago in 2020, but I think it's quite telling. Government update on statutory regulation of counsellors and psychotherapists. The government currently has no plans to introduce the statutory regulation of counsellors and psychotherapists, a parliamentary debate has heard. So the BPC and the UKCP, which are two other regulating bodies that do similar work to the BACP, joined this debate in the House of Lords a few years ago, which was reviewing whether there needs to be stronger or more stringent regulation of counselling and therapy in the UK. And it was ultimately decided that it doesn't need statutory regulation because the BACP have a good enough reputation that if you're looking for a counsellor or a psychotherapist, you could look on the register of the BACP. That is considered the official professional regulated and accredited body. If you're seeing a counsellor or therapist who is not registered with the BACP, that should raise a little red flag and start ringing alarm bells, because most, if not all, professional counsellors in the UK are registered with the BACP. However, the important thing here is it is not mandated by law, which is why it's a problem, because groups like Scientology come along and offer free therapy sessions, and there's no one in government that is held accountable for that. There's no one who is overseeing whether what they're doing is actually beneficial or helpful to somebody, or whether what they're doing is actually harmful to a person who is going through trauma or a difficult period in their life. You know, someone who might be seeking therapy might be inclined to go along to a free therapy session. But the problem is, you shouldn't be allowed to offer therapy without it being regulated or checked to ensure that the person delivering the therapy knows what they're talking about and is actually going to help you. So let's have a little look at what these the Dianetics and Scientology Life Improvement Center in London have been offering. Now, I have to take a little bit of responsibility here, because during my time working at the Church of Scientology London, I came up with a social media plan. I was trying to improve book sales and trying to get Scientology on the map and use the internet to our advantage as a promotional tool to try and get more people through the doors. And one of the things that I suggested, this is over 10 years ago now, was that we use Eventbrite as a platform to register, to try and get new registrations and get people through the doors. So what we would do is we would have Dianetics seminars where someone stands up and talks about Dianetics for an hour. We would put those up as events on Eventbrite, and we'd have one every single day. Even though the seminar wasn't taking place every single day, we'd put it up as an event on Eventbrite because people scroll through Eventbrite to see what's going on in London today. People are looking for therapy sessions or life coaching or, counseling or career advice. That people look for those things on Eventbrite. And so if we can capture a couple of people looking for those events, we can get them in through the doors. And then we can either deliver them the seminar 101, or we can sell them a life improvement course or do a personality test or whatever. But it's my fault that London Scientology have an Eventbrite page and are currently still using it as a recruitment tool. Now, we did tread the line very carefully back then, and we didn't call it free therapy. We didn't call it free counseling. We called these events find out more about the mind, or find out what's causing stress in your life, or what's holding you back. We didn't say free therapy session. We often said free seminar or free information or free film showing. But they've now obviously evolved into offering free therapy. So I have to take responsibility because it's partially my fault that they're doing this, but it's not my fault that they're calling it therapy. And this is why I wanted to make a video about it, because it's important that people realize that these sessions being offered by the Church of Scientology are not accredited. They are not approved. They are not being delivered by trained professionals in the field of mental health. They are being delivered by people who have read L. Ron Hubbard's book, Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health, and then trained to deliver an auditing session or a seminar based on his works. Now, Dianetics may be called the modern science of mental health, but there's no science behind it whatsoever. L. Ron Hubbard didn't do years of research. He didn't have a degree or any professional training in the field of mental health. He just came up with this stuff and said, hey, this works, and sold millions of books with his ideas. Now, let's have a little look at the Dianetics and Life Improvement Center Eventbrite page, just to give you an idea of the extent to which they are using Eventbrite here as a recruitment tool. They have 3,200 followers on Eventbrite in the UK, 235 events. And just to give you an idea, upcoming events, 179. Now, when I set up this Eventbrite page for Scientology London, we would have one event a day, and we would schedule them a week or two ahead of time. So there would be maximum like 14 events in the upcoming tab. The fact that they now have 179 shows they are just trying to cast a wide net to try and get as many people as they can on as many different buzzwords that they possibly can, that they think people will be searching for. So let's have a look at some of these. Negative thoughts, self-doubt, insecurities, free lecture, free personality test and consultation, World Mental Health Month, free lecture on the mind, how to improve relationships with others, how to be successful in whatever you do, get your shit together workshop, success or failure, what does it depend on, how to achieve self-confidence, free lecture, learn how to get rid of negative emotions, free lecture, how to increase potential, and so on. I'm not going to read through all of them. There are 179 of them, and they are all following the same sort of theme. Discover yourself with a free personality test, communicate with confidence, free lecture, your year for self-development, free event. It's time to improve your mind. Let's boost your confidence today. How to handle stress, problems, and failures in life. So the concept behind all of these is Scientology have what's called life improvement courses. And this is one of the first things you do when you walk into a Church of Scientology, is you get sold a course on, how to communicate better, or how to have a happy marriage, or how to handle your finances, or whatever it may be. And that is how they try and get you in, by giving you just simple tools and, tricks and things you can use in your life to perhaps be a little bit happier or a little bit less stressed or whatever. And that's the part of Scientology that is perhaps most dangerous, because it's just general life like advice. There's no golden nuggets in it. There's no, mind-blowing stuff, in my opinion. It's just things that most people would be happy doing. And each one of these events in Eventbrite is based on one of those things, on one of these courses. So it goes through business stuff. It talks about, you know, good versus bad management, learn how to become a better leader, you know, career advice. So every little form of attracting attention is what they're using here. And there's 179 of them. Let's look at some of the ones specific to Dianetics and when they use the term therapy. So this is an event called What is Dianetic Therapy? Free lecture. And look, it's happening pretty much every single day at 4 p.m. Now, another thing to bear in mind is it's not like they have someone delivering this seminar or this lecture every day at 4 p.m. and the room is full and there's dozens of people walking in and there's queues and a ticket system. No. They have someone at the Life Improvement Center that can deliver the seminar if needed. They promote it and try and get people through the door. And if they have like 5 or 10 people, then they will do the seminar. But if you rock up and you're the only one there and you go, hey, you know, I got this ticket for this free event on Eventbrite and I'm going to learn how to, you know, be more confident in my life. They're just going to talk to you and get you to do a personality test and try and sell you a book. It's not like it's an event that they put on every single day. So let's have a little look at this event here. What they've written is, if you've ever felt there was something holding you back in life, ruining your plans and stopping you from being who you want to be, you were right. The fact is, there is a single source of all your problems, stress, unhappiness, and self-doubt. It's called reactive mind. It's called the reactive mind, the hidden part of your mind that stores all your negative experiences and then uses them against you. Come to this free 1-hour lecture on Dianetics and how the mind works. And the tags they've used: UK events, Greater London events, things to do in London, London seminars, London health seminars, mental health, wellness, depression, psychology, well-being, mind, mental health, self-help, mental wellness, mental health awareness. So what they're trying to do here is they're trying to prey upon vulnerable people. Anybody who is seeking some sort of support from a momentary upset or a difficult time in their life, anyone who's, you know, gone through some trauma, a recent breakup or an abusive relationship, anybody who is looking for some sort of help, these are the people Scientology are trying to target through their Eventbrite program. And if you didn't know what Scientology or Dianetics was, you can see how this might be appealing to you, because it doesn't say, hey, this is going to be a free introduction to Scientology. We're then going to sell you a book, and then we're going to sell you a course. Then you're going to do the course. And after a couple of years, you would have ended up spending potentially hundreds of thousands of pounds. And then after a while, we'll tell you about Xenu, the galactic overlord that is responsible for all of your troubles and problems in life, based on an event that happened in the Galactic Confederacy 75 million years ago. That's confidential. They don't tell you that bit. They are just trying to get you in under the guise of some free mental health support. And quite frankly, it's disgusting. Let's look at another one of these. This one is Time to Improve Your Mental Health, free lecture. Again, happening every day, this time at 3 p.m. Let's read about this one. Although it looks like it's actually the same description. Reactive mind, the hidden part of your mind that stores. Yes, it's exactly the same description. However, it's just using a different name. They are preying upon the vulnerable and trying to exploit people's trauma. This is another one, private life coaching session for self-development. So this is something that happens, at 4 p.m. every single day. So this clashes with the seminar that we were just reading about. You would imagine that would mean that there are 2 people delivering 2 separate things. No, these are not real events. These are not things that are taking place. It's just a marketing tool. Let's read what this one is. During the life coaching session, you can expect to work one-on-one with a trained professional who will help you identify and achieve your personal and professional goals. The coach will use a variety of techniques, such as asking powerful questions, active listening, and providing guidance and accountability to help you clarify your priorities, overcome obstacles, and create a plan of action. The session may focus on different areas of your life, such as career, relationships, health, personal growth, or spirituality. A life coaching session is a collaborative process that is tailored to your specific needs and goals and is designed to help you make positive changes and achieve greater fulfillment in your life. Now, again, if you didn't know what Scientology was or what Dianetics was, or you came across this event and you didn't realize it was part of Scientology because it's not very obvious, it's just promoted as the Life Improvement Center, you can see how this is something that would appeal to a vulnerable person. And I can assure you that this life coaching session is actually what's called a regging session. It's a sales pitch. What this person is going to do is sit down with you and ask you a load of questions to find out what your ruin is. In Scientology, a ruin is the thing that's ruining your life, the thing that is causing the most stress or upset or trauma. One of the questions we would ask when I was in Scientology is, what is the number one thing that's causing you stress in your life? Or what's the one thing you'd like to change about yourself if you could change anything? These are questions that we asked as Scientologists, geared towards finding out what your problem is and therefore being able to sell Scientology as the solution. So let's have a little look. There's one more one-to-one coaching session for self-betterment. Here we are. One-to-one coaching session for self-betterment. A free introductory life coaching session available for a limited amount of time. Speak to a trained life consultant. Now, this is another thing that is problematic because the training is Scientology training. These are not accredited counselors or therapists or psychotherapists. These are not people who have gone to university and studied the mind or psychology or studied counseling or anything like that. What this is someone who has studied Scientology and Dianetics and is then offering that as a solution. So it's dangerous because if you're looking for help, you're looking for someone that knows what they're talking about and someone that can help you. You're not looking for a Scientology recruiter. This is happening, every day at 3 p.m. So that clashes with the other event. Again, they're not real events. During the life coaching session, you can expect to work one-on-one with a trained professional who will help you identify and achieve your personal and professional goals. This is exactly the same description as the other event that we just looked at. Look at the tags they're using. It's the same, hashtag confidence, well-being, life coaching, self-care, confidence workshop, London events, organized by the Dianetics and Scientology Life Improvement Center. So if you are looking for some sort of mental health support, or you're looking for a course you can do, or some sort of training in how to live a better, happier, more fulfilled life, please do not look to the Church of Scientology to provide you with that. They are not trained professionals. They are trained in Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard. They are not trained in the actual mind or any sort of science or medical. They've had no medical training whatsoever. And this is the problem with the UK regulation, is Scientology are allowed to do that without being regulated by the government, because they can call themselves counselors and they can call themselves therapists without needing to be regulated by the government. It's not a protected characteristic or a trait. And that's why it's dangerous, because people like Scientology are going to then slip in and use these terms, which people would assume are regulated and are controlled and are only allowed to be used by accredited professionals and trained people who know what they're talking about. But unfortunately, it's not. It's not regulated. Anyone can do it. So Scientology can slip in there and exploit these people. And that's why I think we should petition the government to make perhaps a change in the way things are regulated in this field. Just putting it out there, just an idea. I also want to bring up some recent news that I covered on my blog, Scientology Business, and it's all within the same vein. Last year, I had Michelle Leflèche Francoeur on my channel, who is a French-Canadian ex-Scientologist, who was in a very good documentary called Enquête, which is a French-Canadian, I think it's produced by Radio Canada or CBC, something like that. They went undercover in the Church of Scientology, Quebec. And off the back of that, there were a number of charges filed against a current Scientology staff member. And that's the news here. Let me share the story. I will put the link to this in the description shortly after the stream finishes. Canadian Scientologist charged with illegal practice of medicine and faces $88,000 fine. Now, this is the guy himself, and his name is Doris Sanfranson, I think. Let me get it. Doris Sanfranson. Essentially, this guy he's a mechanic. He has a car garage where you can go and get your car fixed. He also works for the Church of Scientology in Quebec. And an undercover journalist went into the Church of Scientology and pretended to be someone with bipolar disorder seeking some sort of help or support. Scientology said that he needed to come off his medication that was prescribed by a doctor in order to do the purification rundown. But in order to do the purification rundown, he needed to come off the meds first. So he was directed to go and see this Scientology staff member when he wasn't working in the church and was working in his moonlight, aka paying job, because you don't get paid to work for Scientology. So this guy went to his garage. He went to see this mechanic who sat down and tried to sell him what's called an anti-drug bomb of vitamins. And he prescribed these vitamins and said, hey, bipolar is a made-up disease. It's not real, and you need to stop taking your medically prescribed medicines straight away. You need to take these vitamins instead that will help with withdrawal, and then you can go into the Church of Scientology and you can do your purification rundown, which is what will help you on a spiritual level. Now, unfortunately for this guy, this was all filmed by an undercover reporter, and the authorities got wind of it and really aren't happy about it and have now charged the guy with practicing medicine illegally without a license. So let's have a look here. Following the documentary, the Collège de Médecine de Québec conducted its own investigation and is now pursuing legal action against the Scientologist, who faces 6 counts of illegal practice of medicine and a fine of up to $88,000. According to CBC, for several months, Mr. Sanfranson illegally followed and advised a sick person whose identity has not been revealed. The mechanic is accused of having exercised clinical assessment on the condition of a sick person whose state of health presented risks, as well as having diagnosed illnesses, determined medical treatment, and prescribed medications or other substances, which are all illegal in the UK, in Canada, unless you are a doctor or trained professional. So here is another piece of that story. This is from the documentary, some of the undercover footage of an e-meter and somebody giving this newcomer a check on the e-meter. Scientology, of course, responded with a statement. Their lawyer said the Church of Scientology does not tolerate in any way that a follower or member interferes with a medical program or the taking of medications without authorization from the doctor. However, the footage from this documentary clearly shows that is a lie, and Scientology do in fact offer medical advice when they shouldn't. So I will keep you guys up to date with that story as it progresses, and I'm excited to invite Michelle onto my channel again on Thursday, so tune in for that. The live stream is already up and running. If you want to go and check it out, go to the live tab on my page and you can ask him some questions, because we're going to be talking about what's happened since we last spoke, his activism in Canada, and what to expect, because he said there's some exciting news and developments that are expected to happen in the next few days or early next week off the basis of this story. So stay tuned for that. And one other thing that I wanted to bring up that again is related to this topic of practicing medicine without a license, or providing therapy sessions and pseudoscience, is tomorrow. I will be having Dr. Jonathan Steyer on my channel, who is let me read you his description here. Jonathan N. Steyer, PhD, R. Psych, is a full-time practicing clinical psychologist and adjunct assistant professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of Calgary. He specializes clinically in the assessment and treatment of concurrent addiction and mental disorders. And Dr. Jonathan actually visited Scientology's Industry of Death Museum in Los Angeles and is about to release a book that's all about mental health misinformation and pseudoscience, and why it's important that we separate the fact from the fiction in the field of mental health. So this is his website. This is him. He's a really lovely guy. We've had a couple of emails back and forth, and I'm really looking forward to inviting him on my channel and speaking to him tomorrow. That's his book that's coming out, Mind the Science, Seeing Your Mental Health from the Wellness Industry. And we're going to be talking about exactly what I presented to you guys today, which is why it's important to look at the regulation and look for counselors and therapists from the accredited regulated bodies, and make sure that you are receiving the correct information from people who know what they're talking about when it comes to mental health, rather than from quackery, Scientologists who try to come across as though they know what they're talking about. So Dr. Jonathan Steyer tomorrow on my channel. Can't wait for it. We're also going to talk from his professional experience as a clinical psychologist and as a professor at the University of Calgary, what his thoughts were on the Industry of Death Museum and Scientology's role in the anti-psychiatry movement. So I can't wait for that, and stay tuned. Let's look at some of these questions. Craig here in the chat. It's mid-August, so October is not far away. Have you heard any details yet about this year's IES event? That is an excellent question, and I'm glad you asked, Craig. I have been working behind the scenes on planning this year's IES protest for several weeks. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, the International Association of Scientologists is the official membership body of the Church of Scientology, and every year they have an annual gathering event here in the UK at their headquarters, St. Hill, down near East Grinstead. It is marketed widely as the greatest gathering of Scientologists. It is one of the, if not the biggest fundraising event for the IES around every year across the world. It is the largest, if not the only, international event that happens in Europe. So Scientologists from all over Europe flock to the UK to hear David Miscavige speak for 3 hours often on the Friday. And then there's a patrons ball on the Saturday, which is a big fundraising event. And then on Sunday, they have a charity concert where they invite dignitaries like the mayor to come along and boogie and party along and then donate to local charities. This event happens every year, and last year it happened in November, a little bit later than usual, and I organised a protest, and it ended up being the largest protest in the UK for about 15 years since the Anonymous movement. And I can assure you, we will be back this year, and we will be bigger, and we will be stronger. In terms of the exact date, I cannot reveal the date just yet. I'm still waiting on confirmation on the exact weekend that it will be occurring. There's a lot of misinformation, and Scientology like to throw a few little curveballs here and there. Tickets to the Patrons Ball are up for sale online, but they don't have the date on their publicly accessible website. And I don't like to start planning things in terms of dates and announcing them until I know for a fact that they're happening on that date. So I like to always get confirmation from at least 2 independent sources within Scientology to tell me the date before I can be assured that that's actually the date and it's not some sort of curveball or op that they're trying to throw at me to, scupper our plans. But it's likely to happen in the first or second weekend of October. We will know fairly soon if they're planning to stick to the normal October event weekend, because they start erecting a huge marquee in the back garden of the big castle at St. Hill, and you start to see the construction of this large tent. So we'll know that it's definitely happening 6 or 8 weeks beforehand, but you won't know the exact date until I get confirmation from my inside sources. So I'll keep you guys in the loop, but of course we will be there. I have a meeting next week with an official who works for the government in the local area, about our plans for the protest and what exactly we're going to be doing and what permits we need. I also have meetings with law enforcement because I like to work with the police to make sure we can protest peacefully and not get in anyone's way. So I'll keep you guys in the loop for sure. Let's have a little bit more of these questions. Here, question, Alex, why don't you protest at, I don't know, Westminster, where people who actually care about your cause can do something? That's an excellent question. And protesting in Westminster is something that I'm currently engaging with and something that I have been doing for months. I've been building relationships with politicians for close to a year now. And I'm actually meeting a politician literally, I think 3 weeks from now at their constituency office to talk about how we can hold Scientology to account in the UK. I've been working with politicians behind the scenes for several months and even got Diane Abbott, who is the mother of the House, the longest serving female member of Parliament in the UK, to submit a request to HMRC, the tax office, to investigate Scientology, considering its history of fraudulent activity internationally and its number of fraud convictions in France, in Hungary, and elsewhere around the world. So protesting and building relationships with politicians is absolutely something I'm doing, and it is something that I recommend you do as well. If you want to fight this fight, you want to jump in and support the cause, you can do so in whatever way you see fit, whatever way you think is helpful. If you want to engage in live chats, if you want to comment down below on videos, if you want to share videos, if you want to tweet about stuff, if you want to show up on the streets outside Scientology orgs and protest and live stream, all of those things are really helpful in getting the message out there and getting the message through to current Scientologists. There's no right way or wrong way of doing it. So I encourage you all to do whatever you think is right and is going to help get the message out there. I also encourage you to write to your local state representative or member of parliament and express your concerns. These elected officials are there to work for you. They represent you in parliament and in government. So if you make the case you are concerned about abuse in Scientology, your MP or your state representative is obliged to respond to you and help you in some fashion. That doesn't mean they're going to table a debate tomorrow in Parliament, but the more people that write to their local representatives, the better, because they will get the message that this is a national issue of international significance, because people are being abused in Scientology at every level of the organization in every city in which it operates. So that's it from me for now, guys. If you want to support the channel, please do consider buying me a coffee or PayPal, all those things down below. They help me keep the channel up and running. They help pay for me to go to therapy, because I haven't been to therapy in a long while because it's so expensive. So your donations are really helpful towards that, and they will go towards me going and seeking some mental health support of my own. But other than that, please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. And if you want to subscribe to email notifications from my blog, Scientologybusiness.com, you can do so. And you'll get an email in your inbox every time I publish an article. Quite often what I do is I publish an article, I'll do the research, I'll write the piece, I'll publish it, and then I will do a video about it afterwards. So that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for your continued support, and I will see you tomorrow for a live stream with Perth Scientology Audit in the morning, and then in the evening with Dr. Jonathan Steyer. As always, I'm on war footing, and I'm not fucking about.